But she's already decided to cut her way in because the woman breaking an asterisk is asterisk, the student council president. When a new voice cuts in from the window, Dodd is trapped and completely overwhelmed. Before a fourth woman, Yuria, descends from the ceiling claiming to be his fiancée. And now a fifth woman appears in a blaze of fire, Fainal. The demon stakes her claim on Dodd Campbell as the other women realize this is now a competition, and the room erupts into an all-out brawl, a story called Savior Rising that he'd already beaten. He remembers waking up one day suddenly inside that world possessing the body of a powerless background character. His family's territory is a rural backwater barely in the story, so his acceptance into the Imperial Academy was a miracle, a moment of great pride. As he left his father behind, his father wept, begging him not to cause any trouble, but Dodd already knew his plan. And his pathetic stats: no skills, no gifts, nothing, but F ranks across the board with a system that threatens death if he ignores quests. Promising his father he would lay low and attract no one, even vowing to keep his grades below average to stay invisible, letting the game's true protagonist handle all the danger. His new academy life was supposed to be quiet, but from the very beginning things went horribly wrong, and now he's trapped, wondering why this is his reality. He's trapped in a carriage with her, Elnor the Bloodthirsty, a woman known for leaving mountains of corpses, and the secret final boss of the entire game. As Elnor explains, this is all just a PR move for her family. He realizes she's different from the character he remembers, and his silence earns a sharp question from her, a slip-up that immediately puts her on guard, forcing him to quickly backtrack, saying he just heard she was strict. She calls him strange, and he can only nervously agree. But as he looks out the window, he sees boulders hurtling towards them. A massive flaming rock is about to smash into their carriage, and Dodd lunges toward Elnor to shield her. This world erupts in a blinding flash of light. Powerful armor she always wears. A barrier protects them, but Dodd knows his F-rank stats can't survive this. He lands on top of her, asking her to move. Dodd scrambles to apologize, but she says it's fine. He saved her. She's never been approached so boldly by a man, but Dodd is just mortified, knowing he only did it to use her armor. Amidst the burning wreckage, Elnor asks for his name, triggering a system alert. He's gained a villain's interest. This unlocks a special gift and 2 new skills. This scene shifts to the aftermath of the attack, arriving at a grand estate a short time later. Inside, Dodd finally understands his hidden gift, Fated Attraction, rewards him for gaining a villain's interest. He realizes his happy-go-lucky hometown had no one evil, which is why the gift remained locked. Until now, he inspects his new skills, starting with Desperate Survival, a powerful ability that boosts his stats in danger, but the other skill, Deadly Charm, is a nightmare, making it easier to attract those with evil traits. He knows exactly who that means in this world: a battle-crazed warrior who lives for the fight, a deranged sword god who cuts down anyone nearby, a ruthless assassin who kills for coin, and a genius mage with no sense of morality. He panics, realizing they're all dangerous psychopaths, but he forces himself to calm down, focusing on survival, revealing he knows the attack wasn't a coincidence and warning Dodd to stay away from Elnor for his own safety. Dodd agrees, but a system alert appears for Elnor, knowing he's already too involved with the final boss. His thoughts are broken by someone shouting his name, and Dodd realizes he's been left to face the strongest opponent. This woman with glasses confronts her, demanding an explanation. Elnor explains the assassins tried to kill her, so she killed them first. When questioned, she scoffs at the idea of forgiving them, admitting to herself that the guy is quite odd. Meanwhile, Dodd stands in the arena, mocked by the crowd, realizing this dangerous situation might be his only chance, a chance to attract the villains watching from the stands. With his game knowledge and a stat buff, he might just survive. As she asks if he's really as weak as he seems, he can only agree, and she prepares for their duel, revealing her deep hatred for Elnor and House Tristan, calling them all demons. As Dodd listens in shock, he remembers this from the game. A bitter family drama, and Elia was going to make him pay for being with Elnor, but Dodd knows he must be noticed to survive, telling her to go all out. And she grips her sword, asking if he's serious. He tells her it's the only way to get a real fight, triggering his Deadly Charm skill as she agrees not to hold back. Elia leaps into the air, sword ready to strike her attack, instantly shattering his wooden practice sword. She's surprised he dodged, admitting he's not a total weakling, and follows up with a powerful kick. A system alert pops up. A dangerous situation, activating his Desperate Survival skill at X rank. He catches her mid-attack, shocking her completely as a strange blue energy crackles around his body, a power she recognizes as the highest rank. And even he can't believe what he's just done, recalling that Dodd Campbell was just an F-rank student who just defeated the world's protagonist on his first day in the stands. The nobles are reeling from the shock, with one man admitting this doesn't make any sense. Dodd had no power before, but that strike was real, so real that no one in the academy could have survived it. He theorizes Dodd used an illegal item for a temporary boost. This woman with glasses notes that Elia's sponsor won't stay quiet, but the professor insists they can't ignore such potential. This woman with glasses decides to wait. I'll see you. And a young noble agrees they'll find a role for him. He's gaining points based on their curiosity and interest. He wonders why the final boss is so invested in him as he receives a reward. The Tristan sword technique, but when he checks Elia's status, there's no reward, realizing gifts are only for villains with positive interest. and she suggests they get to know each other better, walking away and muttering about how uptight he is. A flashback reveals she was coached on making friends because she was coached to bring snacks as a peace offering. But she bumps right into the student council president Elnor. Elnor asks if she's okay, leaving Ilya completely stunned, triggering a traumatic memory of her brother's last words, a vision of a Tristan night engulfed in flames. This name itself sends a shiver down her spine. Elnor sizes her up, wondering if she could win a fight right now, but instead offers a hand to help her up. Ilya is bewildered by the kindness, wondering why she isn't reacting. Elnor simply asks for the bag back, her confidence unshakable. She hands it over, questioning how Dodd got mixed up with this woman. She reveals she was just with him, demanding to know Ilya's intentions. Ilya claims it's for friendship, but Elnor shuts her down with a new rule, a rule she just made up on the spot, forbidding her from seeing Dodd. Ilya asks about her relationship with him, but Elnor claims he's nothing to her. A clear lie. She remembers Dodd's words from their duel about his own resolve and decides she needs to get closer to him to find out more. This next day, students are being sorted into classes based on their duels, and because he won, Dodd is placed in the highest level group. To his horror, Ilya is in the same group, greeting him cheerfully, and a system alert shows her curiosity has somehow increased. He then remembers the snacks and note left for him. Realizing he's being stalked, Dodd tries to focus on the exam, a key part of the main scenario, when a system alert pops up. An event for Elnor is about to start. Suddenly, Elnor herself appears, announcing she's in charge of the test. A change from the game that puts Dodd on high alert. In a flashback, the professors decide to make Elnor the proctor as Elnor leads them into the exam area. A student named Luca is impressed, but the group is plunged into darkness. As the lights go out, Ilya immediately asks if this is part of the test, as a voice confirms the entrance has been sealed behind them. This Elnor event triggers. This isn't a test, it's an assassination attempt. One of the other students tries to calm everyone down, urging them to move. But Dodd recognizes them all as the main character's future party members. He realizes everyone trapped in this room is crucial to the story. Using his game knowledge, he points to a map on the wall, suggesting a route explaining the central hall is their best bet against an ambush. He warns them they aren't alone in the darkness, then declares he's splitting off from the group. Much to their confusion, Ilya questions his logic. His path is far from the safe zone, though his only real goal is to save his own skin. He walks off alone, relieved they believed his bluff. His victory over Ilya gave his words weight, and now he just needs to hide. This assassins are after Elnor, so he plans to just wait it out until a voice from the shadows calls out his name. This voice belongs to a man claiming to be a technician, but a system alert screams danger back with the main group. Someone calls Ilya's name as a student named Luca worries about Dodd being alone. Another student trusts Dodd's plan, unaware of the assassins watching them. As two more assassins arrive, noting Elnor already wiped out their advance party, this leader smirks, confident they'll succeed where others failed, and they head towards the equipment room. This leader spots Dodd judging his movements from afar, dismissing him as a complete rookie he can toy with, as the assassin appears behind him, ready to deliver a reward. As Dodd casually identifies him by his walk, and even his allergies, this assassin is furious, checking Dodd's stats and finding them confusing. He dismisses it all, charging forward to end this weakling instantly. But Dodd calmly raises a wooden club to block. Elsewhere, the main group is already under attack, and an assassin falls to a well-placed arrow. Ilya and her future party members unleash their skills as one student is ordered to freeze the enemies. Though she worries about Elnor, she has no need to worry. Elnor takes a step, unleashing a devastating wave of power that wipes out multiple assassins. At once, an assassin is sent flying back from the sheer force, and Elnor interrogates a survivor, demanding answers, but he refuses to reveal his location. Elnor shows no mercy, slamming him to the ground. This terrified man finally cracks, admitting he is her ally, questions her intensity, but Elnor is resolute. This group realizes Dodd intentionally made himself the bait. Elnor is questioned about her connection to Dodd, which she denies, though her expression betrays her words back. With Dodd hasmed, realizes a barrier is preventing weapon use. He's left utterly confused when his attack fails. He unleashes the Tristan sword technique, leveling up his skill, and asks who Dodd is as a system alert pops up. Dodd reveals he lured him to a weapon-restricted area, but he doesn't intend to kill him, instead giving him a message. His plan is to scare off future attackers and protect Elnor. Hasmed asks what happens if he comes back for her, and Dodd challenges him to try again, vowing to protect her. This assassin asks if she's really that important to him. Back at the academy, the aftermath mess, and one of the staff members is completely overwhelmed, confirming the academy has a spy in its ranks. Elnor is warned about the repeated assassination attempts. All the other students involved were commended for their bravery. She watches him walk away, sensing he's avoiding attention. Her aide threatens to hit her for being so cryptic. This aide calls her out for being distracted all day. She reveals it's the person her aide just mentioned, Dodd Campbell, and her aide can't believe she likes that country bumpkin. Elnor denies having feelings for Dodd, but her aide isn't convinced, reminding her that he was kind of trait Elnor usually distrusts. But Elnor simply decides she needs to test him further, informing him his class assignment is delayed for a special project. He collapses onto his bed, wishing they'd just forget about him, when a system alert announces his first main quest is complete. This next quest is to resolve an incident at the freshman reception, this very event that determines a student's class in the game. He plans to build for strength, just like the protagonist Ilya, aiming for the exclusive equipment reward. But there's a problem with both of their special events set for the same day as the main quest. This final boss, the protagonist and the main story are all colliding, and a new alert pops up with a reward from Elnor, a skill duplication pass, which leaves him completely stunned. He could copy one of the final boss's skills right now, but he knows Elnor is a growing type of villain who will gain even more powerful cheat skills later on. He takes a deep breath, deciding to save it for later, and focuses on preparing for the event in 3 days. He knows exactly what he needs to do to survive, and under the cover of night, he heads out. He arrives at an old forgotten equipment warehouse. He searches the warehouse for one final crucial item, an ancient burner holding 1,000 years of power. As the mountain of equipment begins to collapse, and as he falls, a woman appears in the dust below. He lands and catches her, shocked to see who it is, a boss. From the game's second chapter, and a system alert confirms his life is in danger. His desperate survival skill activates just as she shatters her chains, unleashing a furious, powerful attack. He remembers her duel with Ilya from the game, but this time he's the one on the receiving end. This isn't a practice match, it's life or death. But she attacks again, chains whipping through the air. She yanks him forward, completely off balance. She launches into a powerful spinning kick, but thankfully he knows exactly how to stop her attack, a 3-step zone of absolute death. But she's trapped within it, unable to advance, so he offers her a bag of energy biscuits. With the immediate danger gone, she asks who he is, so he gives her news about her sister's safety. Her curse is tied to an evil sword from the Holy Empire, and he figures she deserves to know her family is okay. Showing the freshman the campus from a high peak, Dodd recognizes this as the game's tutorial event, a challenge he cannot afford to fail. She explains its history as a battleground between heaven and hell, where divine and demonic energies still clash after centuries. 3 great powers formed an alliance to guard this critical location. An eager student asks if they can get a closer look, and the instructor allows them to approach the barrier's edge. Dodd smirks, having his own plans for this little field trip. This barrier itself was created by Seraph, an immensely powerful being, allowing the academy to exist so close to such a dangerous place. Dodd asks to eat separately, claiming he's uncomfortable in the crowd, and the instructor agrees, warning him not to wander too far. A jealous student scoffs at the attention Dodd is getting alone. Dodd prepares the ultima of divinity with rare ingredients, crushing them into fine powder for the ancient burner. This portable thurible begins to glow with immense power, allowing him to contact beings beyond the mortal realm. A brilliant light engulfs him as the ritual begins, and he stands before a gateway to another plane. He arrives in a strange place where 2 men are arguing over their works, one of them struggling to dig into the hard ground. 2 powerful winged beings suddenly notice the human intruder, but decide he's not bothering them and go back to their business. A superior appears, demanding to know why the work has stopped. This workers collapse in despair at the endless task, and a female angel confronts the driver for slacking off, while the superior spots Dodd, ordering him to get to work. This other angels are starving, their food shipment delayed, and Dodd realizes why they don't just descend to the mortal world. He recalls from the game that they're like a military, an encounter that shouldn't be happening this early on, so he lays out a magnificent feast for himself, and a sweet roll materializes in a worker's hands, prompting the superior to finally call for a break. His single portion magically multiplies to feed them all, a simple act of kindness in this divine realm. This superior angel, grateful for the meal, offers a blessing, asking Dodd to name his reward, explaining he sees a great undeveloped gift, him a power that will shape his entire future. This angel's words echo in his mind, a cruel yet friendly monster back in the mortal realm. Dodd ponders the strange compliment as the angel's final words urge him to believe in himself, and Dodd sighs, knowing this is all just for survival. A system window reveals his reward, the Ultima of Divinity, now with 2 new skills. Both skills boost his survivability, a perfect match for his desperate abilities, but there's a catch. They both require mana, which he doesn't have. He needs a temporary solution, and he knows just where to find it. Approaching a registration desk, where a student questions his focus, Dodd confirms he heard the instructions. They need to form teams of 2. A small creature warns that things are about to get crowded as Dodd glances at a locket, trusting the game's story. Just then, a girl with orange hair arrives, looking for the right department, and Dodd decides to change his plans, recalling the angel's advice. A flash of memories reveals their complicated past interactions, but Dodd simply extends his hand, offering a partnership. She thinks he's using a jealousy tactic, while he thinks she's delusional, but he reminds her of their first violent meeting with 2 more bat-like creatures closing in fast. She yells at him to help instead of just talking, but he calmly gives another warning. He identifies a poison trap on her right, then warns of arrows and an attack from behind. He explains his stats are far too low to help, and his survival skill won't trigger in a mock battle. He knows he needs to raise his stats quickly, and he wonders if he's pushed her too hard. Dodd plays it cool, calling their record-breaking performance lucky, but his partner seethes with rage at his false modesty. From a control room, a hooded observer watches them, not the warrior candidate but the strategist. Dodd Campbell Percy scoffs, calling Dodd a swindler, but Conrad defends him, explaining that Dodd is the true key to their success. His perfectly timed orders and flawless judgment are undeniable, as if he's a veteran of 1,000 battles. Break the record he and Percy set, and win a request from the dean. He calls the task nearly impossible, giving them an out. Conrad grins, betting on their victory, and the next trial begins elsewhere. A woman with glasses enters a quiet conservatory. A white-haired girl lies on the floor trying to recall a memory, one that speaks of inhuman power and bursts of madness. This curse has led to misery for her family for generations. As her friend helps her up, she prepares to say something important. Her friend arrives with a drink and some urgent news reporting that Dodd is now partnered with the next warrior candidate. This very same girl he fought before. Ilya Crixinax. Her friend explains they've teamed up for the mock battle, taking a sharp breath as she makes a decision, then drops her drink, demanding to be taken there at once, confirming his intention to challenge the all-time record. But he can't reveal his secret knowledge of the game's monsters, so he simply tells her it's because she's with him in the control room. Conrad prepares to set the difficulty as Dean Percy balks at their request for the highest level. But Conrad is intrigued, agreeing to meet their demand. This warrior candidate trembles with fear, while Dodd calmly tells her it's too late to back out, as Dodd's partner realizes they could actually die in this trial just as a massive horde of monsters swarms the arena floor. And with the trial underway, panic sets in for the observers. Dodd stands firm as a system window warns of detected danger, and a life-threatening wave of beasts charges toward him, but Dodd deflects a charging beast with a single powerful slash. And in the control room, Conrad erupts with excitement as his partner realizes Dodd knew this would happen all along. Dodd moves with impossible speed, dodging another monster's claws, revealing he was only pretending to be weak. Conrad explains he's seen this sudden change in skill before, and Percy understands. As the trial gets harder, so does Dodd. This duo fights in perfect sync, growing stronger simultaneously. She clears the way and shouts for him to finish it, a flurry of strikes that tear the final boss apart. He lands, catching his breath, his name now known. Dodd Campbell, as an announcement, declares they've broken the all-time record, but he senses something is wrong, screaming for her to get down, and a green-haired man deflects a massive explosion. He praises them for setting a new unbreakable record, and the warrior candidate thanks Professor Conrad for the opportunity. Conrad smirks at a stunned Percy, declaring his victory in their bet. Their reward is revealed, an item from the Vision Warehouse, and a favor from the... And the two freshmen are stunned by the incredible prize. His partner asks how he stays so calm, but Dodd just plays dumb. She thinks about how Dodd always acts like he knows the future. He bumps her fist as a system window shows her trust is growing. Dodd wonders if she's just friendly or plain weird, who immediately asks if he likes the freshman who just left. Dodd is stunned, realizing his danger sense isn't activating, but she repeats her question with a cold stare. His danger sense suddenly flares up, warning him to be careful. As she asks if he's been missing her this whole time, so she concludes it's because she saved him on the train. She mentions a priority listing, leaving Dodd completely lost. She dismisses his confusion and hands him a sealed letter. Dodd panics, wondering if it's a challenge or a love letter. She tells him to open it when he's alone. He holds the mysterious envelope, agreeing to her terms, but rejecting her comes with a dangerous penalty. She winks, calling it a surprise she decided on in battle. He's being forced to choose between the final boss and the main character. Refusing both seems just as dangerous, leaving him trapped with no good options. Then a crazy idea forms in his mind: accept both. This night of the party arrives a grand hall filled with students. As they walk, a system window reveals a clone walker skill. He spent all his points on a crazy plan. He'll use a skill to keep his clone quiet. A caged monster being brought into the academy. He knows it's for an experiment that will go wrong, so he buys a pheromone skill to help him survive. She composes herself, seeing him in a new light, then invites him to explore the party with her. Dodd knows his clone is with Ilya somewhere else, and he has to keep them separated at all costs. Elnor suggests they get some food from a stall, recommending wild boar skewers. A terrible choice for her, but she's shocked he knew it was her favorite, trying to keep his distance. As she spots an accessory shop, he offers to buy her a gift, a move he knows will backfire. He picks out a simple button, the worst gift he can find, but his plan backfires when she says she needed one, and Dodd reveals he's chosen theology. She urges him to reconsider to join the Knights. Instead, he explains he needs to learn how to protect something precious, thinking of his own life and her eventual downfall. He's preparing for a future catastrophe. The secret society incident, and Elnor connects the dots, knowing he's aware of her family's curse, and with glowing red eyes she asks if he knows the cure. This only solution is a miracle known as the Angel's Blessing, which is why her family is feared despite their power, and Dodd finally confesses what he wants to protect is her. He clarifies that if he fails to protect her, he will die, and Dodd hopes his honesty has satisfied her. For now, finding themselves in a basement filled with caged monsters, she wants to learn more about him, but feels awkward. She looks at the cages in horror, realizing they're all living beasts. She realizes the caged beasts are for academy experiments, and sees with horror that one isn't even restrained. A monstrous arm smashes through the bars right at her, but Dodd's clone shoves her clear of the blast. Upstairs, the real Dodd and Elnor hear the commotion as the entire ballroom erupts into chaos, and screams. She watches in disbelief as he fades away completely. She grabs a broken piece of the cage as a weapon. Meanwhile, Dodd gets a main quest to stop the monsters, but Elnor tries to stop him from running off. He grabs her, insisting they must protect students. As Dodd's clone is retrieved and he rushes to find her, he finds her surrounded by defeated monsters, but realizes one of the biggest threats is still loose. Ilya is too worn out to continue the hunt. Dodd worries for Ilya, but the main scenario comes first. He has to prevent a massive penalty for failure as a red-eyed beast emerges, and the crowd is told to hold out. A professor casts a barrier screaming for it to hold, but the beast slams into the shield, shattering it instantly. A woman realizes key figures are missing, making the angel's blessing unusable, while a noble complains, blaming the Tristan family for this mess. Hearing her family blamed, Elnor's eyes glow with fury. But Dodd suddenly sprints forward, declaring he'll handle it himself. He leaps through the shattered barrier, ignoring their shouts, and the others are shocked, but Elnor just watches him. A system window announces his divinity has combined with a rosary. This system flashes a life-threatening warning. As a massive beast looms over him, triggering a desperate survival skill, this professor screams for him to run, but Dodd tells him to evacuate the students. He faces the beast, converting all his stats into pure defense, and summons a brilliant holy barrier to block the attack. This monster's claws slam into the golden shield, and Dodd strains against the overwhelming power. This crowd watches in shock, mistaking it for the angel's blessing. This holy light repels the beast, leaving everyone stunned. And Elnor watches calmly, noting that even official priests struggle with such a skill. At this point, she's not even surprised by what he can do. Elnor knows he's been hiding his true potential all along. While a noble screams in disbelief at the scene, she turns on the professor, calling him out for doing nothing. Just then, Ilya stumbles forward, asking what took so long. She's shocked to see Dodd using such a powerful blessing, a skill that should take a priest 10 years to master. Elnor questions how he could wield such holy energy, remembering he joined the theology department for a reason, and his strange confession that he'd die if he failed to protect her. Ilya remarks how nice it must be for Elnor, saying he's clearly doing all of this for her and her family. Dodd grits his teeth, his power starting to waver as the beast prepares another devastating attack. Elnor finally understands, connecting all the pieces. A memory flashes of her alone in the dark, trapped by the curse that haunted her family, a strange boy who offered a glimmer of hope. She unleashes her own brilliant power, ready to fight just as Dodd's barrier finally shatters under the strain. But Elnor just steps forward, her eyes glowing with intent. She leaps high above the beast's sword, ready to descend, and the beast roars, its red eyes blazing with fury. A massive shockwave of light erupts from the impact as Dodd watches in disbelief, while the monster howls. Elnor stands firm, her body glowing with a golden aura, and a noble recognizes her family's true sword technique, each strike landing on the beast with explosive power. Her face is a mask of cold, determined focus as the monster is thrown back, clearly wounded, then immediately lunges forward for another assault. Her blade connects in a brilliant flash of light as she prepares to unleash a powerful technique, and a colossal wave of energy erupts from her sword. This entire area is engulfed in a fiery blast. Dodd is stunned, realizing her power is beyond his expectations, and he knows this event was never supposed to happen. A system window confirms the quest is complete, with 0 casualties. And Dodd understands she's taking the fall for her family's supporters. With the evacuation confirmed, the immediate crisis is over. Elnor stands victorious amidst the destruction, and Dodd finally sighs in relief. A voice screams a warning to Elnor, but her eyes are locked on the real threat. Elsewhere, another beast attacks a golden barrier as Dodd just wipes the blood from his mouth, and he wonders why the immortal chancellor is visiting him. He's here with bad news and even worse news, and his string of bad luck is far from over. Dodd knows he can't reveal his hand, wary of whatever game she's playing, but she explains she's been busy with damage control. This hegemony's power is weak right now, and they'll recruit talent from anywhere to survive. Dodd connects the recent political chaos to the throne, confirming a power struggle is at the heart of everything. She explains its effects are felt across the entire continent, and Dodd realizes he's been at the center of it all. Adelante is impressed by his political awareness as he asks about the danger of being noticed. A vision of fire and destruction flashes before him. She reveals a strange seal amidst the flames, a symbol Dodd recognizes with dread. The seal of the purifiers. This chancellor realizes he knows more than he lets on about the demon-worshipping cult bent on world destruction, and she offers him a powerful world-breaking item, an interdimensional key. Dodd takes the key, his face confirming he understands its power, as she tells him to prove his worth with it, promising more rewards if he succeeds. This secret meeting concludes and she prepares to leave, but she has one last question about Ilya and Elnor. This vision returns. If he fails, the world burns again. She says her final goal can only be achieved through those three. And as Dodd leaves the meeting, he lets out a heavy sigh. He stares at the key, thinking of the end of the world, knowing a player should never have obtained this item. Dodd asks why he's here and gets scolded for skipping class. This professor hands him a letter, his new temporary assignment, revealing he'll be joining a new class tomorrow. Dodd reads the details, his eyes widening in shock as he sees he's been placed with Elnor and Ilya. This next day, a professor lectures on sword fundamentals, but a student raises their hand with a question. It's Elnor, challenging the lecture's practical use in battle. This professor is completely taken aback by her interruption. He argues that knights must learn range skills too, and Ilya seems to agree, looking unimpressed with Elnor. Dodd sits in class sweating over the tactical debate. This two women lock eyes, their rivalry sparking in the classroom. Dodd finally speaks up, asking to just continue the lecture. Another student just sighs, noting they're always like this. Dodd realizes he's stuck right in the middle of them, drawing. Everyone stares. A system window reveals Elnor's unique skills, a powerful combination of sword and breathing techniques. This very reason she becomes the game's final boss, followed by a strange new skill called Rule of Evil E, which rewards him for turning good The dark side. Later, the students gather in a forest for a survival lesson. This professor gives them a simple yet vague assignment: find something he'd like in the woods within 10 minutes. He adds that he and Elnor will be the judges, and Ilya groans at the lack of clear rules. Dodd sits alone, still troubled by his new evil promoting skill. He immediately shuts her down, telling her to go with her friends. She asks if he's feeling alright, sensing his mood, and he just looks away, trying to find the right words before coldly stating they aren't that close. Dodd wonders if he was too harsh, noticing the others staring at Talion Armand, a warrior candidate with a spear, a man Dodd recognizes as a future chapter mid-boss, asking if he felt the power gap between them, a competition for the highest score on the assignment. She demands to know why Dodd already has a max score. She challenges the professor to observe Dodd with her. He knows she's been watching Dodd closely. She unleashes a brutal kick on a monster, drawing all the powerful beasts to one spot. Ilya can now see the colors of dark emotions. But the woman senses a dark energy within her. Ilya finally slumps in defeat, admitting she can't hide her feelings from her friend Trisha, as Trisha explains that Dodd is intentionally keeping his distance, suggesting his reasons might not be what they seem, leaving Ilya to wonder if that's really the truth. As a system window confirms Talion's rage has maxed out, his negative influence on the mid-boss is now permanent. He unlocks a new rule of evil, reward, as a powered-up Talion screams for his blood. Furious that Dodd keeps stealing the last hit on monsters, but Dodd suddenly holds up his hand, yelling for him to stop. And Talion freezes mid-stride, stunned by the command. Dodd offers to split the rewards in half, a taunt that sends Talion into a blind rage. He channels lightning into his spear, unleashing a powerful skill. But the attack is suddenly intercepted, shocking Talion as a new warrior blocks his spear with her sword. This force of her block shatters his weapon completely, and she glares, warning him to stay away from her friend. Talion recognizes her immediately. It's Ilya, the warrior candidate. She strides forward with purpose. Talion laughs, nervously asking what she was doing to Dodd. But she presses him, asking if he was bothering our boy. She stands over him, refusing to hear any excuses. Talion protests, claiming Dodd is lying to them all, but Dodd insists he's teaching them a lesson, not being cruel. Ilya turns to Dodd, asking if he wants another one-hit knockout, and Talion freezes, realizing Dodd's power is real, apologizing and vowing not to approach Dodd without permission. Dodd grabs his hand, suggesting they try to get along. Instead, Ilya walks away, and Dodd notes her talent for teaching lessons. They both wonder about their friendship, and Dodd assumes it's only for now. Dodd pushes his thoughts aside, focusing on the assignment. She has a question for him, and he sighs internally, admitting that her request might be a bit of a bother. But Dodd brushes her off, heading to get his score first, only to see Elnor falling from the sky, defeated in a duel, as Dodd approaches to finally get his grade, a collection of rare minerals that earns her first place. And as Dodd agrees, Trisha asks if he's finished yet. This professor dismisses them, asking Trisha to look after Elnor, and Trisha takes a moment to warn Dodd about Ilya. He just waves it off, promising to do his best, leaving Trisha to watch him go with a worried expression. While elsewhere, a blonde woman senses a growing power, fearing someone is about to cross a dangerous line, where a purple-haired woman asks if he's using his wish already. He confirms it, addressing her as the goddess of spellcraft. She reminds him that his wish creates work for everyone, but Dodd explains he needs to prepare for a boss fight. And the goddess of spellcraft reluctantly agrees to help, just as a system window rewards him for his actions, with Ilya granting him points and a powerful seed of evil. Dodd knows he's too weak for the coming purifier boss, a cannon powerful enough to destroy the entire academy, and he repeats the insane request with a straight face. She leaps to her feet, demanding to know his plan, and she finally relents, trusting his reasons. She then mutters about the Chancellor's strange faith in our boy, reminding her of another promise. An item from the warehouse with permission secured. Dodd walks off alone, while elsewhere a blonde man reviews a list of materials. But Dodd knows his charity is just a front for laundering money, recognizing him as the chapter boss, the purifier. Galdir praises our boy's impressive skills, and Dodd realizes this is just like the original story, where Galdir was supposed to target Ilya, not him, making him wonder if the system sees him as the protagonist. But the man sets the time and place anyway. He leaves Dodd with a blindingly shiny invitation card, and our boy reluctantly accepts, knowing he can't avoid this main event. He considers all the players involved in this dangerous game. He's still confused about his role in the story. She's surprised to see Dodd, who asks for a moment of her time, and he nervously clears his throat, struck. Find his words. Finally asking if she's free in 3 days, as Dodd asks Elnor out for 3 days. From now, her friend Trisha is more concerned about overdue books, complaining that she'll have to pay the late fees, and he names the place. The Eyes of Twilight. Trisha immediately recognizes it as a famous date spot, but Dodd deflects, promising to explain on the day. This scene shifts to a memory, a voice calling for Ilya, a younger Ilya crying in a field, tells someone to leave her alone. It's her older brother, who smirks about pushing her down a hill. Through tears, she begs him to stop attacking his own sister, but he insists he's just trying to make her strong, offering cookies. She accuses him of stealing them, but he claims they're just leftovers. As she eats, he reveals he might become an apprentice knight soon. He tells her his next step is leaving for the battlefield. He dreams of seeing the world and becoming a guardian. She scoffs at his ambition, but he remains hopeful. She asks him a simple, terrifying question: will he die in battle? Hoping death awaits him, Sir Calivan. He makes a final promise to always protect her if he becomes a guardian, and the memory fades as the present-day Ilya wakes up in bed finding Dodd standing there awkwardly offering an apology. He blames his countryside manners for his earlier coldness. He even offers her some cookies as a peace offering, then smiles, and declares that they are friends now. As he tells her to get some rest, she seems stunned by the word friend, and Dodd seizes the moment asking for her urgent help. Ilya just stares, thinking he must be completely insane. Held by a silver-haired woman handling academy affairs as an assistant brings up the final topic. Transfer students. One is from the Tribal Alliance, a political exile from a coup. This chancellor clarifies she's a tribe leader's daughter seeking refuge. Her assistant names her as the famous Lulu Garuda. And we see a flash of a powerful blue-haired warrior. In action, this chancellor's eyes narrow. She might know of her already. A checklist shows many tasks complete, but one remains a question. This assistant then mentions another arrival for next semester. A saintess, but her aide suspects the chancellor already pulled some strings. A saintess and a tribal leader's daughter. Two new powerful players, recalling all the key people involved, including Dodd, as if she forgot something, but her assistant just asks why she's so worried about it all. He explains this is their only way, using a catapult, and with a press of a button, they're launched into the sky, telling her to stay focused and keep her eyes open. They hurtle towards a massive swirling vortex. He reassures a terrified Ilya they're about to enter, and a memory of her brother's words echoes in her mind. Dodd warns her that things are about to get dangerous. This portal closes behind them, sealing their path, but Dodd just welcomes her to the interdimensional realm. He warns her not to touch anything in this strange place, and he tells her to just jump between the floating rocks. She thinks he's insane, fearing they'll fall and die, but she loses her grip and plummets into the abyss. As Dodd desperately calls out her name from above, as she falls, a memory of her brother surfaces, warning her to hide from the descendants of the apocalypse. His expression grim as he prepares to stay behind, but young Ilya knows their parents are already dead, terrified that he will be next to leave her. He refuses, saying his duty as a guardian comes first. He tells her to run to the hill where they always train, saving her from the abyss, teasing her about the unstable gravity. He tells her to calm down and get used to it. Then he points upward, having found their goal, a structure floating high above them in the purple haze. It's the ghost of Gregory's pavilion. And he hands her an item, telling her they'll need it to run away soon, while Dodd floats upside down, seeing the true danger, as the sky itself opens into a massive toothy maw beast of the Intrdmnsal realm. And it's time to leave. This creature's mouth glows with immense power, and Dodd yells at her to collect everything it releases. She's struck. Catch the strange substance, completely disgusted. Ilya screams, clutching the glowing orb for dear life as they plummet out of the portal and back toward the academy. Dodd breathes a sigh of relief, his timing perfectly calculated. They land safely on the ground, Ilya collapsing in exhaustion. And she asks if this insane escape was his plan all along. He smirks, calling it an easy tactic for an old player. Like him, furious, she demands to know why he didn't tell her the destination, but he just hands her the bag they filled in the chaos. She turns away, off. Quiet thanks and an apology. A system window pops up. Her affection level has increased, and a vibrant image shows their bond strengthened by the ordeal, leaving Ilya with a new determined look in her eyes. Elsewhere, a dark-haired woman ties her hair up as Dodd explains the substance is a psychic entity. She confirms he took the bag into the interdimensional realm, and he reveals his frazzled hair is from a lightning attack, asking if the amount is sufficient for their deal. She smiles, reminding him of another present he promised, but Dodd clarifies he has a request, not a gift. She explains these entities are powerful consciousnesses, and he praises her for making a wise choice. But before he names the item he wants, he has a question. This chancellor asks why he's pushing himself so hard. He knows the real reason involves demon-level threats and Ilya's fate. But instead he asks why she's showing him so much favor, so Dodd lists all the impossible things he knows, secrets a mere freshman should never have access to. He recalls other students feeling the academy's strange, as if the chancellor is pushing them toward their own goals, and he demands to know what she'll ask of him in return. She warns him about his disrespectful tone, but acknowledges he's well aware of her special treatment. She pauses, about to reveal the truth. Still, their deal is set. A powerful item is within his grasp, but before that a new main quest appears under the moonlight. He must resolve an incident at the Eyes of Twilight. Dodd is stunned, realizing she's been there since before sunset. As she explains, she wanted to get ready for their outing. She teases him, asking if this is his first time off campus, and he looks away, flustered, thinking this feels like a date. She pulls him along, noting the long line ahead, and the Eyes of Twilight is just as crowded as they feared, leaving Dodd to wonder if they'll even get inside. At the entrance, a stressed part-timer calls out numbers. This student is shocked, explaining he's working part-time here, while the president looks on with an impatient pout, leaving Dodd to question it himself. Is this really a date? This president steps in, using her authority to cut the line, but Dodd spots a strange necklace on the part-timer, a gift from the Foundation of Purity run by Marquis Riverback, and a system window reveals its sinister power over the wearer. Dodd immediately tells him to remove it and warn the others, and the student agrees as Dodd's new objective becomes clear. He must shift Marquis Riverback's affection in his favor. He knows the chances of a simple night out are zero as the story twists and they step into the venue. Kane taps the floor as a voice greets, Lady Tristn. This man is Marquis Riverback, who also acknowledges Dodd. A new main quest appears as the Marquis asks to speak with Dodd alone, explaining she'll be escorted to the VIP room separately. She looks concerned, but is assured it will be brief as the Marquis notes their closeness and summons him away, laying out the Marquis's entire plan to cause a massacre using monsters and assassins to create chaos, all to awaken the demon inside the Tristan bloodline. He connects the recent attacks directly to the Marquis, then drops a bombshell. He already told the Chancellor, as the Marquis realizes this kid is no ordinary student, as the Marquis reveals his own trap has already sprung just as the President crashes through the door, battle ready, as she calmly gives an order to someone unseen, as Dodd's voice warns her to unleash her inner madness. This cultist close in, confident in their numbers, but her eyes glow red as she prepares to fight back with a single brutal strike. She takes one down. One shouts that they can't kill her as she stands ready, sword in hand, telling them to stick to the plan. More cultists charge forward, ignoring their injuries, but she meets them with a flurry of devastating attacks, and a dark power erupts from the building, revealing the Marquis's new monstrous form, unleashing the temporary power of a demon, as the monster declares his purification will begin. But Dodd knows the real threat isn't just him, it's the revived Manators charging forward. Dodd cringes at his own ridiculous skill name. As the President confronts the part-timer, now a villain, she explains the necklace would have turned him into a monster, telling the part-timer to run while she holds them off. Dodd already has a guess where the Marquis is headed as the President explains the cult's goal, to create pandemonium. And that's exactly where the Marquis is now, at a massive barrier. As Dodd explains his plan was far too obvious, he arrives carrying the President, who asks to be put down, but the Marquis is thrilled they came to him. Dodd promises her they will both survive this night. She draws her blades, determined to live up to his trust, ready to fight with the dignity of her bloodline. This Marquis unleashes a devastating wave of power, and Dodd shouts for the President to follow him. This monster roars that they won't escape his attack, carving a path for Dodd to run through the chaos. Dodd sprints away from the monster's fury, as the Marquis roars for him to stop running, launching another devastating attack from above, a red core of energy pulses in the weredemon's chest. But Dodd on the ground vows to end this now. This attack crashes against the golden barrier, leaving him broken as the Marquis notes he's out of tricks. This President stands over him, telling him to get up. And when the Marquis calls them a couple, she corrects him. A memory surfaces of a scarred man in an alley, and a vision of Dodd with wings of light as he resolves to pay him back, a necklace activating. This President stands firm, ready to fight for him. She turns to the monster with a single question, and she simply acknowledges his answer, her resolve hardening. This President takes a single powerful step, as the weredemon is caught in a sudden vortex, engulfing the monster in a brilliant explosion, sending the Marquis flying backward. This witch hat mage grumbles about her ruined meal, wondering if this was all just a frightening coincidence. He pushes through the pain, telling Elnor to hold on just as the President is slammed to the ground nearby, before unleashing a final lethal attack as the Marquis roars, his power still surging. But a new skill suddenly activates, then the gnashing teeth of a monster, and the face of a woman filled with sorrow. This demonic woman looms over him, his eyes now covered. She used the President as a medium to manifest, revealing herself as a fragment of the white demon. His deadly charm skill targets those with evil traits. He's gained the mark of the fallen, his wounds rewinding. Dodd can't understand why this powerful being is helping him, using a skill duplication pass to seize this chance. This pressure from her aura is immense, almost unbearable, as he prepares to copy a skill from this entity. This white demon fragment smiles, her power radiating. She gives him one last cryptic look before vanishing just as the Marquis roars, ready to crush Dodd into dust, putting everything he has into the attack, only to see a dark shadow descending from above. As Dodd stands firm, radiating a new power, his system activates a new skill, Sovereign of Pandemonium. For 5 minutes, he'll have a huge advantage over demons. And the Marquis can't comprehend this sudden power-up. Dodd closes the distance. In an instant, he lands a devastating blow to the monster's face, telling the fallen beast it's time for round 2. Our boy stands ready, his power surging. This Marquis is stunned, still muttering about the prophet who never warned him about this kind of power. A vortex of dark energy begins to swirl around Dodd as Dodd stands before him, cloaked in dark power. This monster can't comprehend what's happening, how Dodd is wielding a stronger version of his own demonic energy. He collapses to his knees, coughing up blood, enraged that a mere kid could obtain this power so easily. He slams his monstrous foot into the ground, furious, and summons a black mist to amplify his strength. This Marquis roars, facing off against Dodd's glowing red eyes, and our boy dives from above for another devastating attack. Their powers collide in a blinding flash of energy, but Dodd's expression is one of pure cold focus, and the Marquis curses Dodd's name in a fit of rage. He screams for our boy to die, unleashing his full might. He demands to know how Dodd can wield such a sacred power, but Dodd answers with a brutal kick to the face. This blow sends the monster staggering backward, leaving the Marquis with a look of pure terror. But just as quickly as it came, his power vanishes as a brilliant beam of light shoots into the sky. This Marquis roars, promising to shred him to pieces, but is caught completely off guard by the blast, mocking the monster's pathetic final words. If this was his plan from the very beginning, this main quest finally completes. And Dodd is stunned by the incredible rewards. He realizes the harder difficulty paid off big time, giving him 2 new tools to derail the plot. But a blue-haired woman with a monocle appears. She accuses him of getting involved with a demon. Her heart rate is dangerously low. A silver-haired man watches over her, desperate for a priest to arrive. This blue-haired woman reveals a key detail: this gray demon's power is corruption. And now the Holy Empire is involved. This blue-haired woman says he's now the eye of the storm. But Dodd replies he's no longer just an extra. Her eyes narrow, considering his direct ties to the demon. And she calls the gray demon the strongest ruler of pandemonium. Dodd winces, clutching his wounds, already aware of this fact. This woman thanks him for protecting Elnor and the school, but he suddenly loses his balance and falls. She explains the demon fragments are gathering around one human, and now that the gray demon has awakened, the others will follow. Dodd knows the other demon vessels bring only calamity. He recalls the Red Night incident, caused by the Crimson Demon, an event where the vessel is chosen at random each time. This woman reveals the Empire has a list of candidates, including Elnor, and she's gathering them all at this very academy. Dodd wonders if bringing them all together is too risky. His thoughts drift to the concept of true love, as she tells a story of a vessel who fell in love destroying a demon, but Dodd dismisses it as a tired old trope. She then points out the gray demon seems to like him, and Dodd completely panics, denying it. As she smirks, he tries to rationalize the demon's affection, as mere pity. As a vision shows a silver-haired woman reading alone in a field, and the blue-haired woman notes the demon's strange interest in him. She places a hand on his chest, making a sincere request. She wants him to seduce all the demon VSSLS. She assures him that all the candidates are female, showing him a lineup of powerful-looking women. She argues that if he can charm one demon, he can charm them all. But Dodd snaps back about his complete lack of experience. She orders him to use any means necessary to save the world. He questions the logistics of romancing multiple people at once, but she insists it's the only way forward. She bows deeply, pleading for him to save mankind. And Dodd can only ask about the consequences of failure, a future where humanity is destroyed, and a demon empire rises. The scene shifts to a bouquet of flowers. By a bedside, a brown-haired woman enters, scolding student for barging in. But she stops short, shocked to see Elnor is conscious. Elnor smiles, hearing that someone skipped class for her, and the woman rushes to her side in a panic, crying with relief and asking how she survived such a fight. This woman with glasses tearfully explains he's already been discharged. Elnor is stunned to hear she was the one near death, and the woman wonders how Dodd escaped almost unharmed. We see Elnor as she was unconscious and on a respirator, having been in that state for 2 whole days. Dodd's voice echoes, promising to kill the woman if Elnor dies, and he guarantees her survival because he himself survived. He insists her family is too important for her to die for him. Back in the present, the woman cheerfully puts Elnor back to work, mentioning 2 people who have caused a recent uproar. She pulls out a report, ready to brief the student president, revealing the first person is the renowned saintess Lucian. Elnor learns the saintess's arrival has been moved up to next week, a direct result of the demon attack at the school. She asks about the second person, but the woman hesitates as a vision shows a hero battling a shadowy beast, revealing that Sir Gideon is coming to the academy. This scene shifts to a sprawling view of the academy city, its streets bustling with life under the bright sun. A shadowy person in a room asks for the window to be closed as a blonde woman complains that the light is unpleasant. A man in shadow questions the saintess's aversion to light, and she explains her life was spent in a dark chapel. A young man in fine clothes finds her words unsettling, but she simply asks for the window to be closed. He wishes this moment of peace could last a bit longer, but she scoffs at the idea of peace between them. But she insists their alliance is one of convenience only to her. Being controlled by humans or fate is all the same, and she tells the man Villainesses to think whatever he wants. At the very least, she has someone she must protect. This scene shifts to a letter from a father to his son, mentioning the upcoming summer and a parent observation. This father advises him to just stay in the middle of the pack, reminding him to just stay quiet and blend in, and finally signing off as his loving father, Armin Campbell. A young man reads the letter, overjoyed his father isn't coming. He looks up, asking if the person before him is Herman, and a cheerful servant with glasses confirms his identity. He presents a gift from the master, a bunch of grapes. Dodd enjoys the grapes brought by his servant Herman, as other students mock him for pretending to be a noble. He tells Herman to act more like a friend to avoid suspicion, but the servant just finds the whole situation exhausting. Dodd's mind is elsewhere, troubled by the Chancellor's shocking words: a mission to seduce every demon vessel and save mankind, and another for her father Gideon, both with a 7-day countdown. A new main quest looms with an unknown timer, and he knows the boss of Chapter 2 is the real threat he needs to prepare, but he never met Gideon in the original story. Dodd collapses on bench, recalling Gideon only appeared as a corpse, who was found dead by Elnor's hand in the original timeline. He remembers the trigger for the Grey Demon's awakening is Gideon's death, but she's already awake, and as a blonde student approaches, Dodd panics. With Gideon alive, the story he knows can change without limit. This Grey Demon decides she must meet Elnor's father, while Dodd wrestles with the need to get information from him. It's the only way to beat the next boss, and the pressure is immense just as the blonde student Talion grabs Herman's cheeks, prompting Dodd to demand he hand over his sword. Talion immediately kneels, offering his weapon in total submission. Dodd now stands before the Grey Demon, a new plan forming, asking her to teach him the Tristan family sword style. This Grey Demon smirks, finally agreeing with Dodd on one thing, and she draws her blade, accepting his formal request. revealing her plan to copy the Tristan sword skills herself, but a new voice interrupts them, remarking on the rare sight, questioning why the student president is giving private lessons. As the Grey Demon claims the teacher is more important than the weapon, Elnor smirks, offering her own services as a former instructor. And the Grey Demon's energy darkens at the challenge. Elnor challenges her to prove it, ready to expose the style's flaws, while Herman excitedly identifies the confrontation as a duel. This two women face off, a fiery energy building between them. Elnor taunts her, asking if she can fight without her family's strength, a challenge the Grey Demon is more than willing to accept. Dodd panics, but Herman just snacks, saying they both wanted this fight. This duel begins with Elnor launching a powerful overhead attack. She screams for a lesson, but her opponent just critiques her form, effortlessly stopping the blade just inches from her neck. But the Grey Demon parries the next blow with just her forearm, unleashing a counterattack so fast Elnor is stunned, their blades clashing in a furious exchange of blows. A flashback reveals Elnor in a desperate fight as the Grey Demon's eyes narrow with intense focus, their blades meeting in a blinding flash of purple light, revealing a shocking truth about Elnor's family, a vision of her standing before a fiery hellscape as her opponent calls her nothing but a devil's offering. Back in the present, Elnor ignites her blade with fire, but the Grey Demon admits it's hard to control. She dodges the flame and yanks Dodd to safety, but the blast hits Herman right in the face. This Grey Demon notes Elnor's new speed and power. She tells Elnor her swordsmanship is decent but not enough, where Dodd reflects on Elnor's dangerous state, resolving to train both his sword skills and holy power. A young woman eats an apple as a voice asks if she's been well, and a masked man observes her from behind, noting she looks healthy, but she turns her eyes wide with shock and recognition. A memory flashes. She is Yuria Greyhounder, the Saint's sister, haunted by the image of a grotesque monster and a desolate battlefield littered with skulls at sunset, as a voice tells her to abandon all hope, to simply accept her fate as a bloody blade falls. As blood streams from her eye in the vision, doomed to a life of isolation to protect others, and she snaps back to reality, lying alone on the floor, taking a bite to ground herself in the present as the scene replays. The masked man is still there, but this time her eyes hold a new awareness, taunting Yuria for getting too close as he's thrown back, telling her to stay away. And she screams back that he's the one in danger. He launches a spinning chained weapon of his own, but he pins it with his sword, earning a compliment on his health. As he reminds her of his promise to bring food, he drops a sack for her, asking about her loneliness, reminding her she's a cursed sacrifice doomed to be alone. This masked man accepts her silence, telling her to eat well before leaving as the voice from her past returns, warning against hope, her chained sword resting on the cold stone floor. She clutches the bread, realizing it won't hurt her, and tears stream down her face, feeling kindness instead of pain. Back in his room, Dodd gets a sudden notification, a reward from Yuria that increases his reaction speed in battle. He considers the new skill, then notices Herman is still asleep. He wakes his groggy friend, shouting that they'll be late. They arrive at the Grand Academy filled with important guests. This parents buzz with excitement for the battle royale. An announcer welcomes the crowd to the prestigious event, but a sudden murmur of shock ripples through the audience. A legendary warrior, a man who only appears on battlefields, is here, a cold-blooded master who lives only for the sword, revealing his brutally simple method. He cuts down mountains. Their conversation is cut short by a microphone's feedback. As an announcer officially begins the freshmen's battle royale, Baltador tells Gideon to watch closely, boasting about this year's talent. And as the students enter, the crowd roars with excitement, but Dodd feels the immense pressure of the event, while a rival plans to save his fight with Dodd for last, and the contestants are told to collect their weapons, wondering if he's just toying with the weaker students. Declaring the goal is to be the last one standing, Herman advises Dodd to just aim for the top 10, but Elnor and the cloaked student watch him closely, as the contestants are told to bow to one another, revealing the student president, her gaze cold and intense. This announcer raises her hand, ready to start the match, and with a single word, the battle royale begins. And Dodd finds himself immediately targeted by the blonde rival, who relentlessly presses his attack with furious strikes, but Dodd expertly parries, a smirk on his face. And the cloaked student crashes into the fight with a powerful kick. Dodd looks up in shock as the cloaked student Ruru tells him to move, and he recognizes the name Ruru Garda as she kicks both him and his rival aside, remembering she's the daughter of the tribal union's chief, a character from the future. This blonde rival cries out Dodd's name in pain, while Elnor and the others just stare, wondering who this girl is. Ruru stands confidently, a known sadist who loves a good fight. And Dodd recalls her unique fighting style, the tribal union's body arts, realizing she's likely even stronger than Elnor right now. His former opponent is stunned that Dodd shielded him from the blow, but Dodd is just confused why Ruru is even here before her identity is public. This rival Talion tearfully vows to help Dodd win, telling him to run, but he steps up to challenge Ruru himself, who promises not to hold back. She grabs his hand, and a system window pops up for Dodd. Swordsman's focus is active. Ruru gives Talion a chilling smile, telling him not to die. She sends him flying with a single powerful strike, as Dodd moves to block the shockwave from hitting other students. And he's stunned that even his parry couldn't stop the damage from a demonic-looking Ruru. She stands amidst the fallen, impressed by Dodd's display, realizing he was holding back his true power too. Dodd is shocked. She took his hit as she declares she's going all out now, and he knows with his current stats there's no way he can win. And while the crowd boos him, Elnor understands his choice, and her rage somehow plants a fatal charm on him. But someone suddenly throws a bag over his head. He's been brought before Gideon. The student president's father, this legendary warrior, demands to know his relationship with Elnor as Gideon recalls the deflection technique from the fight, saying the legend visited his remote home pleading for belief. Gideon calls it an amusing lie, telling him to continue, so Dodd decides to cover his lie with an even bigger ones. Claiming the Sword Emperor gave him a personal mission, he recalls a scene from the story, a request made to Duke Tristan, and tells Gideon the Sword Emperor wants him to be his teacher. This Duke's gaze hardens, asking if he can take responsibility for that claim. Our boy panics, internally betting everything on the original story. Realizing this is the first time they've ever met, he knows he's the first player to meet Elnor's father, and feels the weight of the Duke's gaze measuring him when Gideon suddenly makes a move, asking why he doesn't stop it. This Duke's eyes glow as he says he already gave it. This table and cups are sliced in two, sending Dodd flying back, a legendary skill known as the Formless Sword. He's in disbelief, receiving the ultimate knight skill. Just like that, a memory flashes. Dying to the same move in his past life, he remembers the Sword Emperor's technique, the one that pierced a dragon. But it was incomplete. Dodd calmly points out the flaw in Gideon's technique, and the Duke is stunned, demanding to know how he knows so much. A journal from the future detailing his entire life, a burden he must carry to break his family's curse. His master once told him it was an impossible task, vowing to start with the sea using rotational force. Dodd explains the key is drawing a perfect line at the right moment, and Gideon tells him to try hitting a bit harder, just that it was advice from Gideon's future self. He's passed on the message, leaving the rest to the Duke. This Duke demands to know what Dodd truly is, and he simply says he wants Gideon to grow stronger. A powerful tool, since Gideon is the Empire's executioner, a man forced to clean up the Empire's dirty secrets. Back in his room, Dodd sees his fatal charm has upgraded, and he's also acquired a new skill from Gideon, Guidance. It lets him temporarily copy a villain's blooming ability, this perfect power to push his plans forward. He sits at his desk, contemplating what comes next. Dodd closes his book, the next part of his plan now ready. He knows it won't be easy, but he promised Gideon he'd take responsibility. Far away, Gideon stands firm, vowing to protect them no matter what. Meanwhile, a professor lectures on the nature of divine power. As he grows increasingly angry at the empty seats and sleeping students, he internally blames a man named Riverbeck for bringing a devil worshipper to the school, while the students grow more unruly by the day. But the professor has a secret. He's working with Riverbeck himself. Suddenly, Dodd asks how one trains divine power, infuriating the teacher, and with a smirk, he pushes the professor to dismiss the class in a rage. Later, the professor fumes in his office, calling Dodd a thorn in his side. He decides to quit grabbing classified files to find a new job when a knock at the door interrupts his escape. He opens it only for the door to be kicked in, sending him flying. He hits the floor, shocked that a student would attack a professor. But a woman in a uniform looms over him, clarifying she kicked the door. And he's next. This professor wakes up tied to a chair, his head throbbing. He sees Dodd, and the woman demanding to know what this prank is about. She coldly informs him this is an arrest, but he scoffs at her authority. They've already reported him for his role in the Beast Escape incident, concluding he was never a real teacher in the first place. And Dodd, sitting calmly, has one more thing to add. Dodd reveals they found letters linking him to Riverbeck. But our boy cuts him off, saying they don't have time for lies. He demands the names of other spies. But the professor just mocks him, so the woman in uniform delivers a brutal punch, now bleeding. The professor finally starts to talk, when Dodd suddenly places a glowing hand on his head. This professor is stunned as Dodd explains he's using divine power to heal him, saying he needs to practice it whenever he can. This professor calls him crazy, as Dodd realizes this won't be easy, so his ally suggests they search the desk for more clues. This sends the professor into a panic, trying to break his bonds. Dodd finds documents, surprised by the professor's military knowledge, and the man lunges for the papers, but Dodd easily dodges him. He's sent flying across the room, crashing into the wall. This impact shakes the building, startling a nearby student. Dodd stands over the scattered documents, asking if that's all of them. With the professor unconscious, he suggests they hand him over to the knights. But Dodd stops her, wanting to study divine power a little more, and the professor realizes why he hated the kid so much, a man he called Forerunner, and knelt before in respect, who warned him that asking questions would mean death. This Forerunner's warning echoes in his mind. Speak, and you die. Another memory surfaces, a woman's voice promising a fate worse than death. Dodd watches him, seeing a familiar chaotic wrongness in his eyes. He leans in, ready to begin the treatment. As the professor's world unravels later, Dodd tells his senior his divine power has grown, allowing them to catch the spy. She simply says she takes no pleasure in hurting old men. A notification appears. Elnor's madness has been lifted, a problem beyond reason. Dodd asks if she has anything to tell him, but she seems hesitant. Suddenly, she gets close, demanding to know why he met her father, grabbing him with a grip of steel. Repeating her question, he stammers, admitting he met the Duke, but kept it a secret internally. Dodd scrambles for a story, an unexpected variable in his plans. Her tone softens to concern, asking if he was hurt, which he quickly denies. He spins a lie about using a sword technique the Duke taught him, sparking his curiosity. Elnor is skeptical that the Duke of Tristan would be so easily intrigued. She walks away deciding it's not her place to question her father's actions. Dodd knows this isn't the last time he'll have to deal with the Duke. He tells Elnor that since the Duke is her family, he'll protect him too. Our boy cringes at his own words, wondering why he's always making these promises. Elnor stops him, pointing out how casual his speech has become. She tells him to learn some manners before protecting anyone and to call her President. Back in the halls, his attendant scolds him for being with Lady Tristan again. Dodd casually mentions he only has 3 friends, and she's one of them. This attendant holding an ice cream notes he got it for free for midterm support. Dodd remembers it's midterm survival season, feeling his soul linker pulse with new power. Dodd orders his attendant to try 30 ice cream flavors, now ready to awaken the ghost in Gregory Hall. His power grew thanks to healing the captured professor, a power that's some random great soul to aid him. But the pool of potential allies is vast and unknown, and getting the wrong one would be a total bust. He activates the skill, a golden light erupting around him, and a glowing gacha card materializes in the light. This vision shifts to a lone warrior on a battlefield, recognizing the face, but unable to place the name. A system window reveals his identity. Caliban Chrysanax, Guardian of Dawn. This was the Red Night disaster caused by the Crimson Devil's vessel. She kneels alone in the rubble of her home, remembering her brother Caliban, who died to stop the chaos. And on that day, losing everything, she made a choice, dedicating her life to destroying the demon that made her an orphan. Aaliyah is celebrated as a top-tier warrior. And in a vision, Dodd tells Caliban's spirit his sister is doing well, which makes Caliban reminisce about her as a child, saying his sacrifice was worth it to see her grown up, but asks him to keep his spiritual return a secret from Aaliyah, and Dodd vows his goal is to prevent anyone from dying, asking if she would like to team up with him. As she reminds him, he once said they weren't close before her friend jumps in, telling him to just take her, teasing that she's been training just to beat him anyway, and another friend eagerly asks to join them, to her excitement knocking the red-haired student out cold. But Dodd clarifies they still need one more person for the team, where a special permission is generously granted. A blue-haired official questions the Saint's arrival with a guard knight. But the knight explains it's a chance for Lucian to step into the world, revealing the Saint is also a vessel for the devil. This knight's smile hides a deeper motive, questioning Pope Credo's plan. He explains Lucian is a symbol for 2 kingdoms, making this a bold move. This official suspects it's because of the recent monster incident and the spy they just uncovered, calling the whole thing bait. But the knight insists this is for the best, a test of her courage, suggesting she help with the students' training at the troubled school. He promises details later, claiming it's all to eradicate evil. This official is appalled, accusing him of mocking them. But a close-up on the Saint's eye reveals a chilling amusement. This official tries to refuse the mission on Lucian's behalf, but the knight is certain she will be useful to their cause. Defeated, the blue-haired official slams her desk in frustration. She calls Pope Credo a snake for this inhumane plot, setting down her monocle. She's surprised to meet the Saint so easily. Realizing the condition is for Lucian to become the Empire's puppet. In another scene, Dodd is asked to seduce the devil's vessels. This official Adelante admits she's no different, using others for her goals. A single leaf drifts onto the surface of a clear stream, where a woman with a sword waits by a waterfall. She looks off into the distance, wondering why he hasn't arrived. Yet she notes it's been days since he last came, but she tells him he doesn't need to bring food. She's Yuria, Greyhounder, an outcast who betrayed her kingdom. Now trapped in a void of despair, reminded of the cursed fate she accepted with her sword. This is the life she chose. The voice insists alone in the forest no one will come for her. She breaks down, begging him not to hate her. And one of his teammates has questions for Dodd, but he tries to brush her off, failing completely. But Yuria admits it was her idea, finding it comforting, which only makes Aaliyah lose her mind, calling them perverts. With the team finally assembled, they head out. As they walk, someone Aaliyah to stay away from him. But suddenly a rabbit flies past them. A close call, revealing another group barely survived an attack, while elsewhere a group of rivals plot to ambush Dodd. But the blonde student refuses, saying he's changed his mind. As a blue-haired warrior stands over a defeated foe, she craves a real battle, a life-or-death struggle. And she launches a powerful kick at an opponent. Her attack is blocked, leaving her stunned. And a massive explosion of power erupts between them. Ruru Garda lands, identifying her foe as a transfer student in exile. But a proctor steps in, warning her against excessive violence, a warning Ruru smugly dismisses with a defiant grin. This proctor claims on a real battlefield Ruru would be dead, daring the proctor to draw blood now that her sword is out. And Ruru mocks her, calling her a typical imperial brat. She scoffs at those with skill, but no resolve, saying she despises cowards who won't fight for what they love. Her eyes gleam with a manic energy, pushing the blade closer, and the proctor's calm facade cracks as a dark power emerges. But it's not from her, as Ruru is suddenly ensnared by dark tendrils. A memory of her father's words echoes in her mind, a realization that the world is far bigger than she knew. And with a wild cry, she launches herself into the air, unleashing a powerful swirling attack. Ruru's attack stops dead in its tracks, inches from her face, leaving the warrior completely stunned. And in a flash of light, she vanishes from the field, but the proctor realizes the power gap was immense. Ruru wonders what triggered his sudden killing intent. And a notification alerts Dodd that Ruru is now interested in him. His team wants to stop the chaos, but he refuses. Other students charge in, trying to save Yuria from the pervert. As Dodd realizes Aaliyah's entire fan club is attacking him suddenly, a new challenger appears on a golem, calling her name. Dodd is stunned, asking if she really has this many fans. This challenger vows to save her from the perverted conman. Her suitor then asks if Dodd is a pervert. Instead, this challenger is taken Aback not wanting to fight her, Dodd watches as students from every department gather around them, seeing this as the perfect chance to grow his traits in another part of the forest. A sleeping student is woken up, triggering a system alert for a life-or-death situation. But the Guardian scoffs, refusing to intervene in a kid's fight back in the fray. Aaliyah holds her own against the golem, activating a mental world skill that buffs the entire party with immense power. Aaliyah, now supercharged, screams she doesn't need fans like. Boy is impressed by the skill's power, but notes its one drawback. It drains his divine energy, meaning the buff will fade after just a few attacks, just as a new group of students charges in to attack, declaring she could never respect those who refuse to understand others. Aaliyah unleashes a powerful Guardian burst. And while a defeated student is stunned, Yuria seems unconcerned, leaving the Guardian to wonder how that guy got so strong. Aaliyah stares, still processing the power surge, as Dodd's traits level up and Yuria asks where their opponents went, secretly admitting that being on Dodd's team is surprisingly fun, while another team celebrates what they believe is a perfect score. Their teamwork is smooth. But they're not in first place, and a look at the map reveals second place has 15 necklaces. This team leader is confident they can catch up quickly until he learns second place isn't a group. It's one person. Another team is floored by the news, asking about someone named Phenol Lipik, and a red-haired elf girl appears, radiating immense power. But the real shock is the first place team with a staggering 111 necklaces. Just as he announces their arrival at the final location, they approach a large cave, the exam's objective in sight. And Yuria playfully teases Aaliyah for not knowing the rules. Dodd recalls that in the original story, this was a random event, wondering what kind of monster will appear this time as Yuria looks around the dark cave with a sense of unease. But it's a blonde elf, Saint Lucian, bound by dark energy. Dodd realizes the necklace's power triggered this event, but another warrior senses this power is unnatural as an orange-haired warrior vows to save her. But a high battle priest named Klein Garrison steps in. He coldly insists this is all of her own free. Well, this warrior can't believe she'd choose this suffering. But Yuria's eyes betray her absolute terror. This warrior, Aaliyah Krisenak, stands her ground, declaring her only goal is to save those in pain. Klein mockingly asks if he should beg her to stop. Just as Dodd finally steps into the confrontation to use both Yuria and Lucian as tools for his cause, he tells Klein they're in first place, so the saint can rest, but the priest refuses, forcing her to wait for the others. And it's all because of the warrior Elnor. This recent monster and purifier incidents drew their attention. He throws his glove, striking the priest on the shoulder, a formal challenge to a duel in the Holy Kingdom. He calls Aaliyah forward, who is completely baffled. This priest warns this could become an international incident. Klein smugly states a high priest can't duel a nobody, but Dodd calls him out for drawing his sword first. This priest tries to deflect, questioning why Dodd is wary of him, but our boy knows a bold strike is needed to break the stalemate. He explodes forward in a blur of motion, and Aaliyah is stunned as Dodd says he did, as she asked she never meant for him to fight the Holy Kingdom, but Dodd insists it was a proper duel. He then reveals his trump card, a letter of immunity from the imperial family. A woman with a monocle says their hands were tied, but she questions Dodd's sudden duel with the Holy Kingdom and is shocked to learn Yuria was part of his grand plan. But Dodd claims he's just trying to live a normal school life now that the duel report has reached the Holy Kingdom. This woman warns that the Pope himself might attend. She calls the Pope a dangerous man and begs Dodd to reconsider this. Two sisters face each other in a heavy silence. Lucian takes a step forward. She pleads with her sister not to come any closer because of the dangerous curse of severance, a power that will harm anyone who gets too close. But Lucian accepts this fate, a relief because they are twins. As the duel begins, the rules are laid out in the grand arena, and Dodd knows this is the only way to delay Yuria's awakening. This woman with the monocle agrees this duel is necessary, a move so impactful it will get the Pope's attention in the arena. Klein's champion clenches his fist, ready for battle, warning his opponent to surrender quickly to avoid injury. But Campbell is terrified, begging his own champion not to fight head-on, while Dodd coolly replies he was about to say the same thing. Klein's warrior is warned not to attack with killing intent, learning that the stronger he charges, the stronger Dodd becomes. A memory surfaces of being struck down by one's own power. This new plan is to break his will to fight entirely as the warrior begins stacking blessings, unleashing a torrent of power that fills the arena. This warrior lunges forward in a blur of pink energy, just as Dodd prepares to activate his own skill, Guidance. Dodd's skill activates, targeting Elnor with Divine Spirit Wrath. A link forms between them, a surge of power building. This warrior looks down, sensing the shift in energy, as Dodd raises his blade for a counterattack, stunning the onlookers with its sheer power. This warrior is stunned as the seal reacts again, cracking the ground and revealing a massive sigil. Elnor remembers her power, freezing the world. And the warrior feels that same suffocating pressure. Now her power flows directly into his blade, as she tells him to give back as much as he received. As the warrior realizes his attack was somehow blocked, wondering how this small girl stopped his powerful assault. But Elnor just reminds Dodd not to kill him, and Dodd's eyes glow red as he grabs his opponent's face, unleashing a wave of dark energy that sends him flying. He notes that Alfonte's students are stronger than he expected, and Dodd, as the victor, asks to address the crowd. He declares that men like these are harassing the saint, and the woman with the monocle warns Dodd to stop, but the Pope is berated for creating an international incident. and Dodd challenges them to come down and fight him. This Pope smiles, calling Dodd a skilled but lecherous student. This Pope gives an order to a woman named Seer as he muses that Dodd's grand scheme reminds him of someone else back in the empty arena. Dodd finally lets out a sigh. Hatanu Jul and the woman with the monocle are impressed. As Hatanu invites him to visit the furnace of strife, he's eager to see that eerie power again, leaving Dodd to realize he's been acknowledged by their strongest warrior, asking if he used the vessel's power to win the duel. Dodd admits he did, knowing his secret is out, and she warns him to be prepared for what's coming. He receives his rewards. A blessing echo and a seed of evil. He can now purchase a special skill, Insight Eye, which reveals an opponent's stats. This purchase is complete and he decides to test it out. So he activates his new skill, Insight Eye. This skill reveals her identity, the vessel of the Grey Demon, a dangerous level, but her corruption is still low. Until she spots him, she has information for him about a target he requested, confirming she's found their pattern but won't do it again. He thanks her, impressed by her skill, and plays dumb when she asks about the Holy Kingdom's delegation, realizing their target is at the clock tower right now, and at the top he finds him, the boy king Valkurthus. Revealing the seer called him the biggest obstacle, as a dark, monstrous power surrounds the boy king, using the same kind of future sight. As he does this, boy king is curious how much he's figured out. This attack is scheduled for 3 days from now, and the mysterious seer is watching Dodd closely. He warns that one day he'll face all the chosen. Dodd is confused, asking why he's revealing all this. He wants a fair game, but knows Dodd is at a disadvantage, so he came to confirm Dodd wasn't a coward, then activates his Insight Vision skill. His Insight Vision reveals a monstrous shadowy truth. Over 2 million forbidden arts are active on his body, a terrifying power built on countless sacrifices. Valkurthus admits this technique is difficult to use in battle, a power that's normally kept hidden from the world. But Dodd stands firm, saying he's also trying to be fair. As Valkurthus reveals he's testing the seer's evaluation of him, Dodd declares he won't just fight. He'll save the boy king and his kingdom. As Valkurthus turns to leave, Dodd sets his own terms. If Dodd loses, he'll become the next sacrifice. With a final word, Valkurthus vanishes into shadow. This weight of the bet finally hits him. Yuria just turns away, telling her to take whatever she wants. This blonde woman says this is the least she can do for Yuria's suffering, as she lights a cigarette, glad Yuria is still pure despite her curse, before snapping between her teeth in a fit of rage. She demands to know where that Satan bastard is right now. He explains the collar is to maintain distance from Yuria's curse of severance. Admitting the leash was just the only thing he could find in a hurry, Dodd reveals that Yuria is his long-lost sister. But the blonde woman, St. Lucian, says that's precisely the problem. She looks at him with suspicion, asking how he could possibly know that this leash made her angry, but his story makes him suspicious, questioning how a commoner knows their secrets. And defeated a holy knight, Dodd thinks to himself it's all from his game knowledge, but tells her it's a secret he discussed with the headmaster. And Lucian finally says his full name. Dodd Campbell. She'll let it go for now since he helped her escape the pontiff's grasp, but Dodd whispers to Yuria that he can't tell her everything Dodd knows. He must learn all of Lucian's secrets, because she and Yuria are key to the pontiff's plan where Lucian's divine power was artificially made. And Dodd warns the pontiff won't stop for long, just 3 days until the academy attack. She criticized him for a leash, yet uses one herself, saying her duty is to watch him and the saint. This guard warns him the artifact is forbidden to him, but as the guard vows to protect them, Dodd suddenly attacks. She knows his intel on the homunculus project is too good, and wonders why Yuria and the hero candidate trust him, confirming it was the same one from his last encounter. Dodd braces himself for a mental attack as Dodd collapses from the mental assault. So Dodd just tells it to get on with it. A wave of divine power hits him hard, as a mind is supposed to reflect good or evil. But his is a total void, neither one nor the other. But Dodd knows this was all part of his plan, completely caught in Dodd's trap, and the angel can only stare in shock. A demon. This demon's eyes flare as she begins to bind Dodd, activating a powerful, deadly charm. Skill, her dark eyes locking onto him as she finds her target, as her voice echoes in his mind, a desperate longing to see him, knowing if he gives in his soul will be lost forever. But the angel has seen enough, grabbing a hold of the demon. She tells Dodd to stay still, who wonders how an angel can fight a demon. But the demon just snarls, telling her not to interfere. She lunges forward with blinding speed. This angel lies defeated, stunned by the raw power, as the demon leaps into the air for another attack. This demon's attack slams into the mindscape's barrier, warning the white demon not to touch the angel. This demon ignores him, insisting he's the one she wants, as the angel remains trapped by dark tendrils. A gamble that finally gets the demon's attention. She asks if he's really threatening her, and he confirms it. His boldness seems to excite her, and she agrees to leave. This mindscape shatters, and Dodd smirks. It all went to plan. He now has the angel right where he wants her. He demands a star iron ingot, a rare divine metal. Back outside, Lucian is stunned. He got it from an angel. She plans to use it to weaken the curse of severance. But Dodd reveals he has another, explaining its power. This guard is shocked they had to meet an angel for this. But Dodd warns them the real fight hasn't even started. A new chapter begins as Dodd plans their next move. Because their mission is to save this school, as the academy bell tolls, a silver-haired student writes, and a shadowed student with a halo plots his own victory. He wonders what it's like to be so blissfully unaware, admitting he has no memories of a normal school life. Suddenly a voice asks if he's used to being alone, explaining that everything he's done has led to this moment. He demands to know who she is, but she just calls him student, appearing beside him in a flash, surprised by his demeanor. And when he asks again, she calls herself his #1 fan. She gets closer, claiming she's better than the demons after him, leaving Dodd to wonder if she's a new kind of enemy. Her hand flashes, revealing a blank white card, the key. And as he demands it back, he realizes his danger sense is silent, admitting she wants to kill them all. What if the invasion came a day early? And as it shatters, so does the sky above the academy. Lucian reveals she heard about it from Ilia's fan club. She compares herself to those with immense power, saying a warrior candidate is barely above a normal person as the call goes out to arm themselves for a real attack. And Lucian realizes this will attract every evil being nearby, as another ally leaps toward the breach, gathering a powerful green energy in her hand, shouting that this is happening much faster than Dodd said. And if this was his plan, he has a lot to answer for. This academy's clock tower stands tall against the fractured sky as a dark magic circle forms above it with a piercing shriek. This order is given to protect the freshmen at all costs as a massive monstrous foot slams onto the school grounds. A hulking, multi-eyed creature stands among the invading horde. Dodd's hand crackles with dark energy, questioning the enemy's tactics, but he knows he can't drag this out. He's waited long enough. A horned reptilian monster lets out a terrifying roar, cornering a student who screams for someone to help him. This boy closes his eyes, bracing for the inevitable, but a green-clad professor named Conrad dashes to his rescue. He scolds the students for panicking and orders an evacuation, while another student pulls his friend back from a foolish charge. Professor Conrad stands ready with his blade, cursing the situation. But the monsters inside are only part of the problem, as the broken barrier will attract deadly energy to the void zone. Even the monsters scream for them to evacuate, not fight. One to evacuate and one to hold the line against the horde. But the monsters tear through their defenses instantly. This chaos, this invasion, it was never supposed to happen. And he's frozen in disbelief until a voice calls his name as a blade slices past him, a warning to evacuate. It's a silver-haired officer named Elnor standing over a slain beast. She's desperately trying to think of a way out of this mess, while Dodd steels himself, knowing he has to face this just as another student council member arrives to gather the team. But Elnor dismisses her, telling her to go on ahead. He reminds her of all the incidents he's solved before this other student demands to know what the president is doing. And Elnor makes her choice, placing her final trust in Dodd. He thanks her and they run off together into the chaos. Dodd explains the clock tower is the source of the monsters, admitting that just the two of them can't handle it, so he turns to a group of hooded envoys for help, but he sees through their disguise. They're exorcists from the Pope, sent to keep an eye on him, not to help the school. He knows he provoked the Pope, and this is the consequence, pleading that since he's in danger, they have to help him. Isn't it enough if only Dodd survives? Realizing they'd let the school fall just to protect him, but a voiceover declares this isn't a game, calling out to Siraz. This hooded assassin finally seems to relent, agreeing to help, but warning it had better be true. At the clock tower, a dark portal pulses, with energy revealing a horde of powerful beasts ready to attack. Dodd tells Elnor they'll talk later, focusing on the immediate threat. This lead assassin moves like a blur, tearing through the monsters, and Dodd can only marvel at her ridiculous power. But Elnor points out an enemy waiting on the clock tower. She asks if this was part of his plan, cutting off his excuses, calling him out for always hiding the truth from her. But she admits there was always a reason for his secrecy, telling him to forget the apologies and focus on the mission. She thanks him for his trust, acknowledging his strange nature, a regenerating stone monster that can't be killed. She charges forward, her blade glowing with golden energy. She leaps through a barrage of energy blasts from the beast. But a sudden attack catches her completely by surprise. A massive stone fist swings down towards her, but the monster's punch smashes through her guard, her blade broken against a foe designed to be unkillable. But she tells him to save the school even if she dies, asking if she's lost her spirit. Just because her sword broke, he calls out her full name, Elnor Arenaries La Tristan, because she's destined to become this world's final boss, saying this might be the last time, so she has one thing to say. He leans in close, catching her completely off guard, and uses it to launch herself at the stone monster. Dodd collapses to his knees, exhausted, as the man reminds him of a bet he came to win. Dark magic circles swirl around the powerful newcomer, but Dodd knows he was bound by them for thousands of years. A flashback reveals the original story's contract, where a wish for death was granted for a steep price for the boy king. It was a chance to end his miserable life, but he had to decide if he could trust a demon-bound villain. This blonde man, Villainesses, asks if Dodd knew how to save him. Villainesses declares he has no choice but to attack, as their rules only permit death in an all-out fight. Meanwhile, an orange-haired woman gives a strange warning. This three stand together on a platform, told to just experience it. But one of them panics, begging for a moment to prepare back in the fight. Villainesses challenges Dodd to prove his worth, but our boy is frozen, his mind blanking on the attack pattern. Then he remembers tentacles and lasers, an easy first phase. He prepares his stance, a flicker of doubt crossing his mind, before abandoning the plan and just dodging for his life, revealing a screaming face as it's destroyed. And Dodd realizes Elnor must have killed a monster. But she leaps towards the chaos. Undeterred, Dodd is slammed against a wall, finally taking a hit, and Valkessis asks if he's finally ready to fight our boy, can only watch in horror as the man transforms, revealing a demonic form that can no longer be stopped, and unleashes a devastating wave of dark power, but the demon is stunned when a chain sword blocks the attack. This blonde one, Lucian, announces she's here to save him, while the dark-haired woman Yuria cries out his name in relief. This orange-haired woman lands with a powerful stomp. He admits she arrived just in time, moments from disaster, as Yuria shows him a circlet that lets her get close to people again. But Dodd explains there's more to it as golden chains bind her, revealing the curse she wore didn't just vanish, it transformed into a powerful blessing that protects her now. A golden warrior, Yuria faces the demon, ready for battle. Dodd recognizes the attack pattern, asking if they're ready, ordering them not to leave their positions for any reason. As Yuria notes, this is their first time fighting freely together. Dodd shouts a warning about an incoming laser, telling Yuria to cut down anything that gets close, and the demon watches her move to intercept the blast. Yuria confirms the attack is blocked and holding strong as Dodd yells out the next phase, a tentacle strike, and she braces, deflecting the powerful blow. But the orange-haired woman hesitates, recalling his warning of instant death. He demands Lucian give her an attack buff now, and she charges forward, her blade glowing with power. She runs straight towards the demonic entity. Valkessis watches with a smirk, telling Yuria to keep pressing the attack as the orange-haired woman Ilya calls on her guardian, and a woman with a monocle announces 10 minutes have passed. She gives a 2-minute warning to someone named Campbell, stating they must win the fight before the clock runs out. Back in the battle, Lucian and Yuria hold their ground as Dodd tells Ilya to ignore the pattern and just keep attacking, and the demon scoffs at her predictable attack until it sees something else, and Dodd screams for Lucian to max out the attack buff. She strains, holding the chains tight against the immense power, and a holy light called Proof of Faith erupts from the tower. Valkessis screams in agony, trapped in the purifying light, as the Demon King refuses to die, his kingdom at stake, but Valkessis counters with a powerful surge of dark energy. Realizing this is her one and only chance to strike since a heart wound failed, she knows what to do. He tells her to retreat with the others, he'll finish this alone. She calls him crazy, pointing out the demon's immense strength, but he insists they'll all be wiped out if they don't leave now. Yuria and Lucian look on, concerned by his sudden command, as Dodd explains the plan is over, and now it's his turn. He looks back, asking Ilya to trust him just this once. She tells the others to go, vowing to protect her students. But Lucian just smiles, asking who said anyone was going to die. And Dodd promises he will win and come back to them, as Dodd declares that dying was never part of the plan. Our boy walks forward, ready for the final confrontation. Lucian offers a hand, saying they'll take a faster way down. Lucian grabs Ilya's hand, telling her it's time to go, and pulls the women away in a flash of light, as Valkessis explains the condition to break his power. A fair duel, and Dodd steps forward, ready to provide one. He combines his soul linker skill with an evil mark. He activates the skill Sacred Soul. A strange power surges through his eyes. A vision of the blonde knight appears in a burst of light. He pushes forward, his body now coursing with power, which is revealed to be a burning, ruined palace. He looks up, sensing a presence on a distant wall, and Dodd appears, asking if he knew he'd enter his memories. Caliban says Dodd never walks away from danger. President Elnor, who's letting him use her lap as a pillow, and she confirms her anger, but for a different reason. And it seems they were the ones who saved the day. He teases her about being jealous, and she threatens him, and the souls of the children are finally at rest. He warns her that defeating the demon means stronger assassins will come. But Elnor changes the subject, reminding him of a promised dinner. A student announces vacation has been moved up due to the incident, as someone lights a cigarette, deciding to stay for now. A blonde woman wonders how Dodd got the Holy Kingdom to back off, and she smiles, happy just to be with her sister. But she warns that the Holy Kingdom's plans aren't over yet. Yuria declares they won't run away now, that they're free. Her sister smiles, joking that Yuria sounds like the older one. And Yuria teases back about being born 2 minutes earlier, as a red-haired elf with glasses tells her to put out the cigarette in another room. A framed family photo sits on a desk. Ilya asks a woman named Trisha if she deserves to be a hero, and Trisha reassures her, mentioning her success at the clock tower. She doesn't want to be trapped by revenge for her family. Questioning if she's just chasing a ghost to fill the void, this headmaster warns Dodd to steel himself, and he admits he's used to the danger now, so he could finally rest and recharge.